You're gonna be my first guest for like real shit, so.
If you go to just like FaceTime camera, and then you can see what's displayed on there.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Just open up FaceTime. Yeah. So check this. It's just wired up.
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
It looks pretty. It looks decent
This is in
quality.
Zoom?
It's a shark, no squid. What's the shark?
Oh, you're new to this.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm fully
cool.
new. Yeah.
Cool. You're gonna.
So the shark is a blahai, and it's called the blahai because it's from IKEA. The IKEA shark is a trans icon. Like, feel this thing. It's like,
Pretty soft. Oh yeah. That's
it's like such a little squishable, huggable little
soft
thing.
yeah.
Welcome to a very special Squid Tips podcast live in person with Noah Samsen, my favorite motorcycle channel, my favorite moto vlogger. Welcome.
Happy to be here. Thank
Great
you.
to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Noah, I have been watching Noah for probably 2 or 3 years. I got connected to your content, I think through you making fun of Andrew Tate, which is, we've all done it, of course.
We dabble.
We dabble. He's a really funny guy, really sincere guy. What I love about it is truly how honest you are in your content. And that is something I am trying to be. I'm trying to live my truth, especially in the last year. I've been going through a lot of changes. And yeah, I think your content and like watching you and hearing you talk about it, you were one of the reasons I sought out ADHD meds because I was like, fuck, maybe this will help me.
I work for Big Pharma, just so you know. Yeah. Try them out. They're good. You'll get your work done. You'll produce so much capital. Yeah.
Welcome. I
appreciate that, first of all. That's very kind. I feel the same way about you when I watched your transphobe to trans ally video. It was really good.
Thank you.
In a way that is rare because there's a lot of self-congratulatory, like, I used to be right-wing and now I'm leftist and people really want to celebrate it, but that was very genuine and I appreciated that. And the very detailed personal stories also. I was like, damn, that's real. That was really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a really terrifying video for me to make.
I'm sure.
I made it because I was really mad and I got really high one night and I literally wrote the entire thing in one giant sitting. And like, I feel like that's when I knew it was like a good thing because I was just it just came out so naturally and then it was just like, I'm gonna speak this into the camera.
Dude,
Yeah.
I gotta smoke before I write because that's crazy. You wrote it in one night because it flowed perfectly. It seemed like ChatGPT borderline because it was that structured. So I'm gonna try smoking because it takes me a long time to write, but that's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Bringing back to I do want to ask you about motorcycles. So one of the first interactions we have, I've been trying to interview you for a while, but you reached back out to me because you got a ticket on your bike.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you
I came crawling back to get some help from you.
Did you not? Oh, do you not remember that? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so you reached out to me and because I'm pretty much an expert in the police and motorcycles. So tell me what happened. Remind me what happened.
Ooh, I was I was living in Orange County at the time. I was riding from my place to my girlfriend's place. She lived in Glendale, so that's about an hour ride in a car. I try to cut that time down in a motorcycle. I had just gotten a BMW S1000RR, I think 2 months before this ticket happened. And so I was testing it out, was enjoying my time
bike.
with a new machine. And I was having a great time. And then I was getting onto the freeway. There was a cop coming towards me, and he was getting onto the freeway after me. He stopped at the light. I went on the curve, entered the freeway, and just kind of took off. Like I rode 70-ish, speed limit with everybody else basically, and took off. And then after a while, I just slowly started going. Wasn't really paying attention because I was like, oh, he's probably, he's doing something else. Surely he's not following the motorcycle with a plate, but a very no rear view mirrors. And so after about 20 minutes, I cranked it up a bit, and then eventually in the carpool lane, I was definitely, I was being normal basically, but in the carpool lane, he randomly popped up right behind me, sirens on, microphone on, do not run, do not run, do not run. And I was like, first of all, my plate is on. How stupid do you think I am? I know I just got this thing. You can run the tabs, it's new, but like that was, it was scary. Like he popped up kind of out of nowhere. I just wasn't paying attention, I did have mirrors on at the time, so I should have known better. But case in point, I pulled off, and they clocked me going 135, which actually, when I talked to my lawyer, or the lawyer I hired, thanks to your advice, she said that's good because it's harder to prove the faster you're going or something like that. Like it's difficult to collect the.
He didn't have
evidence.
a gun. He was behind you.
Speed gun me.
So he didn't speed gun you. He was doing an estimate, like estimated
Oh, is that how they
speed
do
or
that?
something. Is that? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty unlikely a cop usually can't gun you from the back. They can gun you going the other direction. Literally, they have equipment. I've gotten a ticket doing that. They can gun
Missionary.
you from the side.
Yeah.
but yeah, so he did an estimated speed or something to that effect. Based on, usually what they'll do is they'll tail you and then they check their speed and they estimate how much
Something like that. Yeah, that must have been it. And I mean, I was scared. I've been pulled over before. I actually rode a CBR 600 in high school for a little bit. I ended up selling it because I got pulled over and got a ticket, but I got it struck off my record because I'm from Gig Harbor. It's a wealthy area. I have friends that have lawyer parents, and it was a whole thing that ended up being fine, but it's still a similar thing where it's very scary. You know, I'm not used to it, and I'm not good in live confrontations like that. So I immediately was like, I'm sorry. He cuffed me and put me in the back of the car.
Oh my God.
To scare me.
Yeah, of course.
I'm in the back he's like, you know, do you know what you're doing is wrong? I was like, yes, sir. No, sir. I'm just a boy, sir. I'm only 24. I think I was like 25, but it was for sure scary, but ultimately, eventually, after a long ass deliberation with like the DMV, you know, license, I didn't get it suspended. I got a temporary one. I got it suspended, then I got a temporary because the hearing was in a few months, and then eventually they pushed back the hearing enough times to where they just tossed the case out because my lawyer was great. Jessica Verano, Orange County, shout out. But yeah, it was.
So you literally got nothing. Like they pulled you over. They put you in the back of a car. How did the cop treat you? The cop did his whole fucking.
He's like, "What the fuck you doing, man?
Yeah,
what are you doing, man? You're gonna kill yourself." And for the record, I was going to speed limit, so he's lying basically. But he was like, "You're gonna kill yourself. You passed cars. You're weaving in between lanes." I was just doing what I saw on Instagram Reels. I was just following the rules of the road. I was like, sir, look at this. See this R1? Look, he's just being safe. If he's going to hurt himself, he's only going to hurt himself, which isn't true. You know, that's not necessarily the truth. But
I mean, a headline that has never been written is motorcycle crash kills 6 people. That has never been written.
Right, yeah.
Like, that's
just 6 people on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
That's like an India situation where
Right,
they're all there, they're all packed on. Yeah.
Right. Those freeways are crazy. But yeah, so I hit you up because I was very fucking scared, and I also was like, yeah, you're a very knowledgeable guy about this stuff, so I figured it would be helpful.
You had a Honda? You had a CBR 600 in high school?
Yeah, when I was 17, I had a Volkswagen Golf, sold it for $2,500 because it was not a very nice Golf, and then took that money and bought a $1,800 CBR 600. I'll send you a photo of it if you want to flash it on the screen.
Was it like a Repsol? Was the Repsol
No, it was a piece of shit. The fairings were painted, like one of the fairings was black, the tank was red. It ran and it had mirrors and it ran okay, but I was just commuting to community college on it. And
what did your parents say?
Oh,
They give a fuck?
my dad rides bikes, and I grew up riding dirt bikes. Well, I had one dirt bike. It was a 50cc Yamaha, yellow and blue. Kind of a piece of shit as well, but when you're a kid, like that's just really fun. I eventually outgrew it, but I still rode it, and that was like, I don't know. By the time I finally got a bike that could like start with a button, I was like kickstarting the 50cc. It took 20 minutes of doing that, and finally getting it, and be like, yay! So it was like a very watershed moment that could happen. But then, my dad like. I think the situation when I got pulled over that time was actually really weird. Like I genuinely was like, basically I was going up this hill in the town that I'm in, and a car that was in front of me like stopped pretty abruptly to turn onto a street, and another car came, so it just kind of stopped right away. And I was cruising and looking in the mirror, and I wasn't like paying super close attention, but he just stopped quite, so I like swerved around him because I didn't want to hit him or brake super hard and like high side. Yeah. And then I kind of sped off up the hill, and apparently, there was a cop coming down the hill, and he saw me swerve around him, so he's like, oh, this guy's, he's being a little mischievous boy. And then he turned around, and because I sped off up the hill, he thought I was running. And I was really close to the police station as well. So by the time I got to the top of the hill, 2 squad cars stopped me, and then this guy came in a full triangle position, and I was like, fuck, and I don't even remember what they said. I was like so nervous and stuff, and I didn't say a single thing. I was just like, and it was right around then that I ended up selling it, because I was like, I feel like, I don't know, I was commuting with it, and that was nice, but eventually I was like, I don't know, I was going to go to school in a few years, and just having a car would be, I think, easier. So I wasn't super into like motorcycles or motorcycle culture, but I loved riding. you
Yeah.
know? And it was a short-lived stint. It was like a year and a half that I rode that, but.
So you never got you didn't get the thing that a lot of people get, which is your parents telling you, my stepdad rode bikes a bunch. He was like, he almost went professional baseball player, really athletic dude. And he was like, when I bought a bike, he was like, you're being fucking stupid. You're going to die on that thing. And he was like, I had a crash. And if I crashed, there's no way you're going to be able to not crash and die or whatever. And I was like, okay, bet. Like, and here I am.
A week later, coming back in the SpongeBob wrapped up.
I mean, he wasn't
glass
wrong.
bones.
That year, I laid it down. I looped one because I was, within 2 weeks, I was like already trying to do
Let's
wheelies
try
and
it,
shit,
yeah.
which is the thing I never did when I rode bicycles. So
Start with a
Start with
leader
a
bike.
600cc Cali and do it there.
Yeah.
Brand new, like fucking 3,000 or 4,000 miles.
Really?
God, I destroyed that poor bike. I feel real bad about that one.
Damn.
But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, you got the more supportive version, and that's cool. That makes more sense why you had it so early and why you kept riding and why you went to a 1,000cc. That BMW, those BMWs are hot. Why did you choose the BMW as opposed to like any other bike, or was it a good deal? Or
I was no, it wasn't. I was very dumb. I bought it new, and I bought it from a dealership, and
hot.
doing YouTube research and getting my YouTube certification in motorcycle research, I ended up, I don't know, something about like the descriptions about the tech, about it being like pretty like an easy of the sport bike rides, like a comfortable kind of ride.
Yeah.
It's like heated grips, stupid shit like that.
Oh,
Like,
it had heat. I think it's had heat grips.
yeah, it's fancy as fuck. It's bougie.
That's cool.
And I was in Southern California, so why would I care? It was a wet winter. It was cold. That was helpful. If I would have rode it up to Washington, it would have been extra helpful. But
Yeah.
I mean, mainly just like I think it looks great. Like
Yeah.
the front is kind of like more like it's like bird shaped. The R1s are kind of like. I mean, they're all different styles and really cool.
The headlights are what are so like it's just like very
Yeah,
cool. It's like
yeah,
one's
yeah.
round and one is it a high
Yeah.
beam and a whatever? I mean, I don't know.
Right. Like what was it, the R6s from 2008 to 2012 or whenever, where they had the bug eyes.
Yeah.
Like that type of shit. When the S1000s had one circle eye and one straight eye. You ever seen those, like 2017
yeah.
and back? So fucking sick. I should have gotten one of those instead of a new fucking bullshit. But anyways, yeah, I liked how they looked and also how they rode. Like I sat on one. They don't let you test ride them, but yeah, that's how I ended up with that. How'd you? I guess this one you got from a fun experience.
Yeah,
right?
this one I bought. So I had that Kawasaki ZZR 600 that
Yeah.
I looped and destroyed within about a year. Actually, but what actually killed it was when I went to a dental appointment and a fucking truck backed into it and bent the forks, and that's actually what totaled it out. It was so frustrating. Yeah, that was my first interaction with insurance because I had liability, and even though it was a company car, they literally fucked me. They told me the adjuster came and he like made me feel I was again like 18, 19, had no idea how anything was gonna work.
Yeah.
They were basically
What year
just like,
was that? 'Cause you're 30.
39, about to turn 39.
How insane is that? No,
Fuck,
sorry, dude. It's
let's say
okay
on
to
the
say the
goddamn
age
camera.
because you look like you're 24.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am not ashamed. I'm gonna age gracefully. Hopefully, I'm gonna
You
die
are.
by
It's too late. You already are.
45.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they totally just like rooked me. They made me feel really good, and then they basically wrote a thing where they're like, yeah, we lined up the bumper and where the damage is, and again, it already had some fairing damage and shit. So they looked at me and they're like, oh, this bike's already fucked up. We're just gonna say it was already broken,
Yeah.
and fuck you. Here's how about $250?
Oh,
and I was
nice.
like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck you. And I like cried about it. I like went into the business and like asked them to like
Karen
do
mode.
anything. And
Yeah.
no Karen, because I was like 19. I was like, please don't. I can't afford anything.
Yeah.
But
sucks.
after I got that, I was in Alaska, so I got a truck, and then I was 20 and I made a pretty dumb decision and like took a hard left as it was coming yellow, and it was me and another car. We're both like trying to make the same yellow,
Yeah.
but because I was turning left across traffic, it was mine. So totaled my truck out.
Bullshit. They should switch that.
You're
Australian.
Let me buy an R1, and so because that's what I said. I went from the 600. that I
You caused the
destroyed.
accident, and then
So I bought a piece of shit truck to
Yeah.
like keep driving, and then I bought spent like $9,000 on an R1.
Okay.
And and I was like, it was like a Raven, 2009 Raven R1. I was like, fuck yeah. Like,
Yeah,
it was
black
getting
one
my
is
bike.
cool.
It was getting the bike back after I had sold, like basically sold off the one I broke, or that was totaled out for like $1,000 or whatever.
Okay.
And then from there, I just kept getting R1s. Like I liked them, and I just like I kept getting new. Like it got stolen. The R1. I moved to Portland, got stolen in the middle of Portland.
Damn.
Bought another R1 from the dealership. That was my mistake,
Smart.
buying from the dealership.
Interest.
I had like 12%. I had like a 12% interest rate.
That's nuts.
It was fucking horrible.
That's insane. That's double what it is right now, and it's really bad right now.
But it was that got stolen a month later, and then I got another R1. So yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like them, and then I walked into a dealership when I won my lawsuit with the cops, and like this was like up on the fucking up on the thing, like it was the premium version. I was like, it was a very poetic. I had to have
like
the poetic justice
that
part of
one.
it.
Yeah.
I had to upgrade from the shitty version to the better version.
Because you settled a lawsuit. That's how you got the money to buy that, and that was a lawsuit. Like what happened there?
So
I mean, that's probably channel lore.
Yeah, channel lore. The short version is that cop pulls a gun on me. I was speeding. I was literally right down the street here. I was going to work. Very similar. I pulled 80 coming over here, in dead zone. Was sitting there at a light. Cop, I like see in the back of this car, like the lights, they make the lights go on and then it's like weird colors, and I look behind me and there's just a dude with a gun right in my face. I'm just like, holy fuck.
That's insane.
And I mean,
he was undercover, right? Or
he was a detective driving across town to get his body armor. They were like, hey, you're a new detective. He'd spent 20 years as a beat cop, like in a fucking, and then just got a promotion to detective. Don't worry, he's still a detective for the same place. So
I'll
you
try
can
and
definitely
find him.
You can find him. Just head up to Woodinville, you'll see him. But do you do any? Now you're down in California. Did you do lane splitting and all of that? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, my first day on the bike from the dealership, I rode, I don't know, 70 total miles, lane splitting for the first time down PCH, which isn't, like, it's a nice and beautiful road, but it's not, depending on where you're at, it can be stop and go with lights, and if it's crowded, like, I don't know, Newport Beach or wherever I'm driving by. And
2 lanes each direction?
2 or 3. It expands sometimes beyond that, but for the most part, yeah, it's pretty like it's smaller. But yeah, and yeah, I learned how to lane split that day, just going the whole time lane splitting through freeway.
Just doing it.
Yeah, just like, all right, let's fucking try it, which was very dumb. Like I don't know, I'd ridden a lot in my life, so I was like, I'm experienced, but lane splitting, I don't know, it's definitely like part of why I bought a sport bike is because it's, Harleys or bags or stuff. It's way easier to lane split. But a 1000cc bike isn't that skinny. Like, it's not a little bike. It's definitely skinnier than a lot of them. But yeah, it was a kind of like trial by fire. And then since then, yeah, I was commuting a lot to like the LA proper from OC, which is like an hour drive, and splitting there is like super. Oh, it's amazing. Like being able to do that, being able to lane filter and everything.
I've seen the LA traffic is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Fucking insane.
Yeah.
I can't believe that people drive cars in it. Like that is. It's like 5
just
lanes.
get out and
each,
walk. Yeah.
I mean, like I couldn't believe that shit. But it sounds like you did it and you survived. I mean, you didn't. It wasn't. Do you have any? Was there any scary moments that you had? Or
some close calls? Yeah. I mean, people pulling across. Like, yeah, California drivers. Like, I was just riding around here and I was realizing how chill people drive comparatively, because there everyone's like full gas and they don't signal and they cut across and stuff. But I've never had close calls. When I've split, I usually, what is the rule, 20 over max or something? I don't know, that's what, like Moto Jitsu, whoever told me that, I'm like, sure. But then, if you want to bring it up, it's kind of fun. You just got to really, eyes forward, look out for the tires and stuff. And it feels sick just being like, sorry everybody, like I'm going there, and everybody, many people are very respectful, like they get over.
Yeah.
Opposite of here, I'm sure. I haven't really done much lane splitting in Washington, but I mean, you do, so I'm curious to hear about that. But yeah, it was, it's just amazing. Like, it's so much more efficient, it's so much safer. I know, like, people coming up behind you, I never have to worry about that. And what else?
Have you ever had anybody do anything aggressive with you? Like last December, I had a guy literally. I lane split up I was literally at like a fucking stoplight up at a mall area up here during like 3 or 4 days before Christmas, like super busy pre-Christmas traffic. And I pull in front of a guy, and then I go a quarter mile ahead and stopped at a stoplight. and the dude like comes up and is like screaming at me, and at one point he like threatens to pull a gun on me, like he goes in the back of his
So
car.
everybody trying to shoot you, man.
I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
You don't have a very shootable face. Maybe you do.
I don't know. I think a lot of people would disagree with that. Yeah, have you ever had anything like really aggressive happen? Because that's what I hear people say that they're like really afraid of.
Never, no.
Oh.
I mean, surprisingly, I mean, yeah, like maybe it's just being in California and people are more cognizant, but
Like it's legal. They have no excuse other than road rage. Like they know they're just being a piece of shit if they're doing that.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know, like splitting and stuff. Like I like riding fast. You want to get a sport bike to ride fast, and generally everyone else there is driving pretty fast, and it seems like, yeah, I mean, I haven't, like, the worst I've gotten is a Harley rider scoffing at me and not giving me the peace sign back, or not, the classic stuff, but nothing crazy. I'm sure that'll happen eventually, but for the most part, yeah, I like when I'm splitting and stuff, I've never really, been really close. I'm swerving around and everything, but
No mirror clicks or anything.
No.
It really. I think a lot of people. It's like there's a lot of pressure and anxiety and fear about it because of the way it is spoken about by people who don't do it and have never tried it and often don't even ride motorcycles. But like, I think the moment you start doing it, like that was what happened with me. I was really afraid of it. I didn't want to do it. And then I just got really pissed off in like Portland traffic, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna try it. And it was like, oh, this is the easiest thing. This is fine.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to be stopping and going in freeway traffic when you can fit. There's plenty of room. Even if people are tight, like, I mean, worse, you stop, and that's one thing I learned on that first day of riding through miles of just bumper to bumper traffic is, if it gets too, I'll squeeze between the semis. I'll really squeeze it. What is it called when you take the mirrors off? I made it naked. I took
Oh
those
yeah,
clothes
yeah.
off. But because the mirrors are mirror level for a lot of cars, so that makes it easier. But it's just I don't know. It feels amazing, and it feels like there's plenty of room. It just feels like that most of the time.
I want to shift gears. I want to ask you about
Classic motorcycle reference.
Yeah. Is that you played a lot of football in high school, and you actually ended up doing like college football, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up in Canada. You said you redshirted, which means that it's been a while. It means that you would have been able to. You weren't technically part of it. You could have potentially done it for 5 years. Like you could have done it into your 5th year being there, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Like, what led you to want to do that, and like, how'd that go?
Yeah, sports for me started in like I don't know. When I was young, I used to do like little silly music and like video type stuff, but eventually I got into sports through youth football, or I played like youth soccer stuff. But youth football, I really enjoyed it, and then in like middle school, I developed a lot quicker than a lot of the other kids. So I was kind of like I was like basically in high school, nearly the same speed and size as I was when I was in middle school. So it made football really fun because I was really, really good and everyone else was little, which is kind of fucked up. And then I didn't grow anymore, which is even more fucked up. But from there, I really got into football, and I played lacrosse as well and ran track and stuff. I was like a sprinter. But
what were your 4 events in track?
100, 200, and nothing else. I literally did, I didn't have to do anything else.
Oh, you didn't do the relays or anything?
Oh, wait, yeah.
Oh, okay.
100, 200 relays.
And then 400, 4x1, 4x2.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's funny. I did exactly the same, except for, so a lot of people did the 1 and 200. I did, instead of the 200, I did the 110 hurdles because I found, like you, I was like, wow, all those people doing hurdles suck. I'm so much faster than them. And I just, as soon as I did it, I was just cooking everybody.
Yeah. Hurdles are scary, man. My highest vertical was maybe 30. I don't have a very high, like I've never been able to dunk or anything like that, so they've always seemed scary. But that's funny.
The funny part is like so when I moved to Alaska, I was so good, like I got to state, but I was literally like the last person to qualify, and I noticed when I looked to the left and the right, like you're my height, right? So like around 5'8", 5'9". Everyone else was 6 foot, like 6'1", 6'2", and they were just literally stepping.
As soon as you got to state, you're like, I fucked up.
This is gonna
not
be
supposed to be here yet.
I have a clip. I have a photo. There's a really beautiful photo of me just in full hurdle mode, right? And it's like AJ Randall is in first place for the sprint because it's the first hurdle. He will go on to get. He goes on to lose, and it's just like the only moment I was fucking winning.
You don't gotta tell anyone about that part of the photo. Though. Just tell the kids that it's a state championship.
I could, yeah. That's what I do. I say I was in. I ran state.
Yeah.
I have state medals.
Yeah.
But you played offense, and I played. So I played football too. I played defense. I played strong safety.
Huh.
I loved playing defense because I like playing everything. But did your school let people go both ways? Because I could only go one way. We had so many fucking kids. They were like, you have to pick offense or defense.
Did anyone go both ways? Like the super
one or
athletes?
two people.
Yeah.
Exactly,
like
right.
D1 guys.
The one or two people did.
Sure.
But yeah. So that's how I ended up playing defense. But you played receiver.
Slot receiver, yeah.
Okay. We literally would have been lined up against each other.
Yeah, that's true. You would have been like cracking my brain open.
No.
You or anyone else. Running
was
across post route.
I had aggressive.
Yeah, I didn't play defense because I'm just terrible at defense. Like I can't cover. I can play defense in basketball a little bit, but in football I was always awful. But I punt returned and kick returned, and so that's kind of like what I guess made up for. I mean, I don't know. We ran like a tempo offense, and we did a lot of fly sweeps and stuff. So I was gassed. Never had good cardio and stuff. So even if I wanted to play defense, I wouldn't have been good. But we also had a lot of like really good defensive players that like I wouldn't have been better than any of them.
What was your 40 time?
My Spark 40 time. You know the Spark combines, the Nike.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It was probably the most accurate. I think it was a 4.7. And then I got outpaced by a lot of people that stayed in track because I quit track to focus on football and like lift and stuff. And then a lot of my friends that were like sprinters got like faster, and it's like, oh, I probably should have stuck with that. But yeah, kind of like slot receiver, just like little speedy type of guy. Never any crazy high up jumps as a wide receiver kind of thing.
But you're good enough to go to college. Did you go to college with the intent to like do an actual education, or were you like, I want to go to college because I want to play?
It was education, and like I got like half scholarship, so that was basically. I knew I wasn't going to play pro. I might have made a CFL roster, but that wasn't really a part of it. And during that time, I was transitioning back into like like the classes I was taking were like design and arts type classes, and I was really interested in that. And then eventually I kind of wanted to split off and do my own thing, and by the time it was like during the season, it was great. We were terrible, but like I played practice, like I was, whatever the practice team offense and defense is, and you could really go kind of hard in that and just try and like go nuts because they're the best guys you're lining up against, and it's like a shitty, we're a shitty defensive team. I did play a little safety during that, or corner, but yeah, that was really fun. But then eventually, yeah, I mean, I think my goals were never to take it far. And in high school, I was super ready to like go to college. I think I knew like the types of people that make it really far. I wasn't going to be that, but it was still like education focused, I think. And I mean, yeah, I ended up leaving SFU and going to community college and stuff. But the redshirt year was definitely, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
People underestimate the thing. I remember. So I had like no plan coming out of high school. I had really bad grades. Like I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do. I was really like rolling on like getting a scholarship to do anything. But I remember and then I just went and worked a fucking retail job. But I remember watching a lot of my friends who were the ones that were like good and like got full rides, and watching them just slowly drop out because it is so intensive to try to be like a student athlete at the same. It's so hard. Like they ask so much of you, and I remember thinking like, holy fuck, like I can't do college as is. Like I barely can do school. Like I don't know how because were you like waking up early in the fucking morning?
6:30 a.m.
and then
like weight sessions, practices, shower. My degree took place at a different campus, so I had to bust out. Like I would leave 10 minutes early from practice sometimes, sprint. Sometimes no shower, pretty nasty. Get on the bus, get on the train, go to this different campus to do the arts and design classes, and it was a lot. I think I managed it, but I also, it's just a lot. You're tired, you're stressed out and stuff. But then yeah, on top of that, if you're traveling, like the travel team, I traveled one time. Where did I go to? Somewhere else in BC, not far. But yeah. It's intense, man. Like, I don't know. I think student athletes, a lot of times, the really good ones, they there's a lot of accommodations, like
Yeah.
tutors and things like that in time, and also just not necessarily focusing on education. Because why would you if you know you're going pro? Like it makes sense. If you know you're already making $100,000 a year on your, because they do that in college now.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
They pay people now?
Yeah, it's like I don't know how many years ago, maybe 5 years ago they started doing that. Yeah, I know.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah. I
fucking
mean they're
Jesus.
pulling in crazy revenue, and like the top players are making. I'm pretty sure. I don't know what the most is. You have to fact check, but it's a lot. But yeah, like someone like that, it's not a big deal. But for me, I was trying to like keep on top of things, and it was a lot for sure. That's part of why I ended up leaving, and that and like injury risk. I had some concussions,
Yeah.
and I'd like to keep all the brain cells that remain. You know what I mean?
That's the other thing too. Looking at it is like I got 1 or 2 concussions. Actually, the one concussion I got that like the most memorable one was. Did you ever have like a Shriner game, like a senior Shriner game, like or like
Shriner?
it was like an all-star game where they would take the people. So okay, well in Alaska they had an all-star game where they pulled people from different teams, and it was a charity event is what it was. It was at the very end of the year. It was very similar to the same thing at the NFL, right, where they run like an all-star game.
Yeah.
And I was going up against the best receiver. His name's Casey Flair. You can Google this guy. He went on to play Las Vegas, and he did really well. I think he's like a realtor now or something. I don't know. He seems like a very nice man.
Yeah.
Like today, in high school, he was. I didn't really like him. He kind of seemed like a shitty guy, but. And I'm gonna say a thing that's gonna be really rude.
AJ, if you're watching, listen. Wait, you're AJ. What's his name?
Casey.
Casey.
Casey Flair. I'm gonna apologize. His mom died, and there was this whole. I mean, Anchorage is a small town, and so like there was this whole article about him and how he was doing it for his mother, and like there was all this focus on him and his success because of that, and I found that to be frustrating and like kind of like it seemed capitalizing on tragedy to me is like why it kind of like.
Did he write the article?
No, of course not. Of course,
Okay.
he was a 17, 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was extremely devastating. Like, again, retrospectively, I'm like, oh, that's
how you felt at the time.
At the time, I was like,
Okay.
man, fuck this guy.
Yeah,
like, whatever.
yeah.
And he was also, I mean, he was a good player. He wasn't that good, though. He was very tall. He could jump. And he could catch really well.
Yeah.
And it was just, him and his quarterback just had like a whole thing together.
Yeah.
So they're in the senior shrine game together. It's like near the end. I'm lined up against him. And he's like, I can tell he's just like, him and his boy, he's just like, I'm going to fucking clown on this guy. Like,
Yeah,
I'm going to make
yeah,
this
yeah.
guy look stupid.
Yeah.
And I do the thing where I'm like, I just line up man, and I just like grabbed him, and I just fucking threw him to the ground.
Yeah, that sounds
which is
about right.
Not legal at
No,
all, and
no.
he was really upset about it, and the ref, was like, don't do that. And then 2 or 3 plays
You didn't
later.
get kicked. You got flagged, but not kicked.
No, I didn't even get flagged, because
Oh.
it was like this is a for fun thing. Like,
Oh,
we're not-
even better. You're being a fucking dick. You're like that kid at the Make-A-Wish game. There's LeBron going to a Make-A-Wish game and
It's the-
posterizing. That's crazy.
It was the last moment I was ever going to have against this guy, and I'm a pretty competitive
Your mom died. Fuck you. That's crazy, man.
Cut.
That's crazy.
So
You probably should cut that last section, but if you don't,
I'm
that's
not
okay.
done. I'm not
Be
done with the story. This is the story. Is
It
how
gets
I got
worse.
my concussion.
Jesus Christ,
I
man.
line up against him, and they're like looking at each other. He's like, "Give me the ball."
Yeah,
and
I'm
I line
going
up
deep.
right. Yep. And so he runs a fucking total like post corner or whatever.
Yeah.
I follow him. Ball goes up, and it's just this moment of just like I remember jumping into the air, and I remember like touching it and like batting it away, and I was so high, and I reeled, and I fucking slammed the back of my head on the ground.
Damn.
And I get up, and I remember seeing my sidelines freaking out. It was like 4th down type situation. Huge play, big thing. And I'm just like, yeah.
Oh, you knocked it. You knocked the ball?
Yeah, I knocked the ball away,
I thought it was
you know?
gonna be redemption where he catches it and
No.
then salutes his mom. But you're telling me you got his ass and then this is a concussion
No.
story. Yeah. Honestly, tell it how it felt at the time. That's fine.
Well, so afterward, I don't remember anything really from that moment until there's like flashes
Yeah.
between where I'm like, I remember hand shaking, like eyes glazed over type
Yeah,
situation, and then I
yeah.
remember like getting home and like my football helmet being filled with like food that they had handed me to like eat that I had just totally.
It
Anyway.
didn't fall out of your brain.
Yeah, but it was really. I remember being really scared. That was like, oh my god, like I don't remember any of this. Like I wasn't.
Did you
in
knew you were
control of what was
concussed? Did anyone check
I
you?
didn't. Nobody. I got recognized like as I was going home. So I was like, bro, are you okay? Like you do
I remember
not
that.
look okay.
I remember
right?
that. Doesn't help. Doesn't help.
Doesn't help. And then yeah, with CTE though, with later on, honestly, like that was another part of me feeling like this is kind of a gift that I didn't go do college, because like not only was it like really hard, and like the people that I knew that did it all fell away from it eventually, but I was like, fuck, I don't want fucking brain damage. Like I have a history of like dementia in my family.
I don't want brain damage. Buys a liter bike.
I want to die if I want to hit something.
Go all in. No, that's true. Yeah, I feel that 100%.
Do you? I feel like, but these are things I feel like sports. What I like about sports, and like, so I did this video on trans women in sports, and the focus on it really, and my whole thesis is reframing it, because what I see with obsession with sports, and specifically conversations about trans women in sports, is that there is just this sick obsession with competition, and that is what drives everything. It must be. You can't do this because that isn't fair to this. And it's just like, I don't care. I loved sports because they were fun. They were enjoyable. Like, I liked getting my energy out. I feel like I learned a lot of important lessons with sports about teamwork and doing things together. Like, for example, one of the reasons I feel like I am such an optimist is that one of the lessons I learned through playing defense was you get scored on sometimes, right? Yeah. Like as a defensive back, you're gonna catch it over me, and you're gonna be fucking celebrating, and I'm gonna have lost the fucking game.
Yeah.
That shit just happens. But like when that happens, you have to go, like you have to line up. It's next play. Like you don't get time to just sit back and feel bad about yourself. You need to line up because they're about to throw the ball again or whatever, right? And so like those are the types of lessons I enjoyed about sports. Do you feel like sports helped you build lessons and like become a better person too? Do you have any memorable lessons you feel about it? I think
like camaraderie and community are the big things I think about. I might not have appreciated it that much at the time, but like sharing a common goal, and it's a very simple thing you need to do is score more points. And obviously there's specifics in what you're actually doing. And I mean that, and the competitive aspect of it, there's a simplicity to that I really enjoy. What you're talking about with like clearing your mind after fucking up, like a drop pass, I always had trouble with that. Like I would really linger on it, and that was something where there was times where I'd drop a ball, or like I'd fumble or whatever, fumble punt, which is give them the ball at the 20-yard line, really bad, and because it's just you're alone catching it. It is scary to be fair, but yeah. But then I would start to like really like hit myself or like argue with coaches and things like that, and that had to be something that I overcame. And it's like a self-esteem thing, if your identity is tied in with succeeding and winning and doing the best you can. And I think there's like a masculine competition element of like, this is really important to who I am, and I fuck that up, then I'm not a person. Then I'm like really failing, and failing is the worst thing you can do. And that's, I think, one thing that's slowly overcoming that, and still coming to terms with it, like, in whatever I'm doing, even on the internet, is learning how to, like, just keep it moving and just, like, acknowledge reality. It's like if you linger on that, you're going to drop the next pass. You're going to fumble it again. And so I think that's one of the bigger lessons. And then, just like, I don't keep that close in contact with my friends, but I know, they're always going to be there, which is another part of it, I think.
After you left college and after you left that, when did you start doing YouTube? Like, what led you from that portion to then doing YouTube and making content?
Yeah, I started getting into like random creative stuff. I picked up a camera. I started doing these like little vlogs, just like stupid shit. Like I would pick up my sister from school and like make jokes and post it on YouTube, and I do that every 3 months or whatever. Eventually, someone I knew from high school was a rapper, and he hit me up to asking for a music video. And that was a big kind of wave at the time, was like homemade music videos. I don't know if you're familiar with like Lyrical Lemonade or SoundCloud Rap or Cole Bennett.
I've seen the ones where it's like people like, it's like a crowd of kids at their school or whatever, right? And it feels very like in the moment, like.
Yeah, it's super like low stakes. You pick up a $300 camera and film at a gas station. That's literally what I did the first video. And then from there I started doing music videos more, getting into visual effects. Like I was like, there was a lot of trends with, you know, using After Effects and Premiere to like, you know, squiggle outlines and do art stuff. And that led me into, like, I would work with other people. They would see my stuff. Someone would post on Instagram. And I started working with people in Seattle and stuff. And it was all very like just kind of underground, but I learned a lot about creating videos and, just art in general and trying new things and things like that. At the time I was living with my grandma and I was going to community college. So I had like, and I don't know, with school, I was always very good at school without learning anything. Like I got really good at passing classes just with minimal effort. I think that's like an ADHD kind of like coping thing, right?
Optimization of like
yeah, exactly. Just being so good at cramming. And so what that meant was I had a fuck ton of time to just play around. And I think that's, I credit that, like any success that I've had in creative areas with that due to that like extra space and time. You know, it's very valuable, and I didn't appreciate it as much as I could have at the time. But so yeah, from there I started doing like visual stuff. Then a guy on YouTube. How did this happen? I was at the same time doing comedy sketches on Twitter. Posting like front camera stuff, and a couple of them went viral. Eventually a YouTuber named Noah Miller, he's like a commentary guy, he hit me up, or he followed me on there, and then he saw that I did art and he hit me up to do art for a tour that they were doing. And then I started doing visual arts for these YouTubers, and then I started editing for YouTubers, and then that kind of got me practiced in the art of YouTube. And then, I don't know, I was like, I make these videos from the behind the scenes, let's just start recording. And then that was in like hitting YouTube full time was like 2020, late 2020, and then
like
it's
after,
been
like during pandemic type situation.
yeah, the perfect time to like
Yeah.
start, you know, everyone's inside and stuff. And then yeah, it's been 3 years and 2 months now, so of creating.
And you've had a lot of success. I feel like you're. I mean, I think by the time I saw you, you were in like the hundreds mark by that time. But I feel like it came pretty quick for you. Like I've had a long. I think I've been on YouTube longer, for 7 years, and I think it took me 5.5 to get to 10,000 subscribers, right?
5.5 years?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, something to that effect. And I think a lot of people either give up before that point, or like
100%, yeah.
or or you just don't take it that seriously. But I always wanted to continue doing it. Like it's been. I made my football highlight video was like the first thing that I made that like I had my buddy introduced me to like Adobe Premiere, and I was like, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I was kind of an art kid a little bit. Like I did plays and stuff when I was in school. Yeah, so it felt like a mishmash of those two things. But I didn't like. I have been able to, as my success has become slightly more. Like I have felt very prepared for it, and like the only thing I really wasn't prepared for was the cop situation, because that shit happened, and then I got like news articles about me, interviews, and that was like 6 months in. So that was like trial by fire, scary, and then after that everything has been like very soft and easy. But like it feels like you've gone through different phases as a creator, right? Like I see that in you, and it looks like there's turmoil in like what you want to make and like,
yeah, I'm still to be honest, I'm still kind of searching for like a creative identity, because my big break on YouTube was a video I did called I don't even remember what it was, A Practical Guide to Leftist YouTube, which was a video where I compiled a bunch of creators that I had recently started watching that
that was the first one I watched.
Yeah, leftist politics and stuff, and I knew that if I made this video, it would do well, because it's, you know, there's a bunch of people in a thumbnail that a lot of people watch. They're going to click and want to hear, like, you know, I was kind of being like, I love this stuff, here's who you can watch, just providing a resource. And it did well, and I knew it would, and that was like a great thing and a horrible thing at the same time, because in that doing well, I had chained myself to the audiences and expectations of a bunch of other creators.
Yeah.
Which means, you know, if people want to see me, I am therefore needing to like follow in this pathway of the type of content that these people make. I don't need to, but psychologically you're like, okay, like I watch all these people, I want to start, you know, you draw inspiration from different YouTubers, and then you start, you know, working on this stuff, and then it becomes difficult because, you know, stuff is always going to be derivative of art. Like you watch something, you take inspiration from it, but then eventually it's to a point where like all I really know is this space, and that limits me creatively, as opposed to coming at it from, especially like when you're talking about being prepared after working on content for a long time, building up to actual success. Like I felt like I just got launched into the limelight and I wasn't ready. And I still feel that way. I'm still like, oh, dude, content about different stuff. And I don't know, the last 2 years I've been just suffering because I'm doing shit, just, you know, I'm like kind of pumping content out and not like really being in love with it. Like during the process, I love like editing and making jokes in that and things like that and being entertaining or whatever. But yeah, it's imposter syndrome to the max. And then just in the last like 3 or 4 months, I've been trying to like reevaluate what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and trying to like reconnect with like the actual artistic side of things. Because yeah, YouTube, it's really easy. I'm sure you see a lot of content that just becomes repetitive, and you're people following trends. And following trends is really good for a channel, for growing, but also for your soul. It kind of poisons you deeply, and that's what I felt. So yeah, a lot of bad in that regard, but for the most part, it's like it's a very like I try not to complain about creator stuff because it comes off as really dickish. But in terms of the actual art, that's how I feel. But still, being a creator is like having free time and everything. It's like it's definitely a blessing, and like, you know, getting to meet people, do fun stuff like this, like it's really cool. But at the same time, yeah, the identity thing is still in search, you know.
Well, when you do that, like I now, I started as a motorcycle channel, right? And as a motorcycle channel, audience have very specific expectations. Like a motorcycle audience expects you to be a dude, expects you to be extremely mechanical, expects you to maybe be like really funny and like do specific, like again, make certain types of act in a certain way, you know.
Yeah.
Make jokes in maybe a more you know, making fun of specific things. Like you've watched motorcycle content. Like a lot of motorcycle content 10 years ago was like people calling each other pussies and just being like and like hitting on women in parking lots, and like that was like the standard when I started making motorcycle content. And I remember thinking like, I don't enjoy watching any of this. None of this is for me at all. But like I imagine you getting, and now like thinking about like all those different creators that you made that thumbnail about, even though they're in the same space, like politics and leftism is like extremely niche. Like they are, as much as they might have similar, like they are going to pull you in different directions at the same time. And like I totally understand I realized that people were captured by the audience very quickly. Like that was the thing I identified immediately. I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
smart. I tried doing some like more. I was doing accident analysis content, and that was getting a lot of success. And then someone with 100,000, like a bigger YouTube channel, was like, "Hey, if you make video," there was some like person in like the Ukraine or whatever, and they're like, they were doing like compilation videos of crashes, and they're like, YouTube was demonetizing them, and so they were like, "Hey, if you put some commentary over it." Have you ever watched like
Dan the Fireman?
Yeah. That's kind of what it became later. But yeah, he's like, if you do that, then I'll publish it and it'll be great. And then I did that for him a couple times, and like it gave me a little bit of growth. But I remember thinking like, wow, I don't enjoy making content for other people. That fucking sucks. I hate being on his clock. I hate thinking about.
You were editing for this person?
I was doing the whole. He was handing me like clips. It was like
and...
he was theming it. It was like, here's some clips in this theme. And from these different places, like make something from this, and then it was almost like it was like an America's Home Videos, like that's what I basically did. It was like me memeing and joking.
That sucks.
It fucking felt terrible.
Soul draining.
Yeah, thank you.
It did probably pretty well. Like
it did really well. And again, it brought me some success. I never got any money from it. I did 2 videos, and then I was like, nope, I need to stop. Like and I felt so much stress and anxiety about it. But like that was my moment of like, but it was me chasing growth and chasing success, and I wanted it so bad that I was willing to try those things. And now I've tried to do like you do monetized content, like you do sponsorships and stuff, and I've tried to get into it, and the more I get into it, the more I hate it. I hate framing emails, I hate pitching, I hate the fucking, you know, getting nothing, going really far down the line and then having it just go like into the trash because of something else I made, because I hate thinking about what I'm going to say and like whether it needs to be framed in that way. So like everything you say with that is like when you said that, I was like, holy fuck, like that feels very real to me. But you're doing it, and like how else would you exist as a creator on YouTube if you weren't doing that? Like
right. I mean, ideally, like what I'm reconnecting with right now is chilling the fuck out. Like I'm living at my mom's for a little bit, and I'm trying to like figure out. I just need more time and space to create things that I actually think are worthwhile and interesting and original. And even though there's elements of things like that in content that I'm following trends and following a formula, it still feels like shit, and it still feels like you know, it's letting the algorithm brain overtake you to the point where the actual creative process is affected. And all the art I've ever really enjoyed has been stuff that takes a lot of thought and effort and sort of a widespread view of you know, films, movies, art, visuals, and things like that, and comedy. Like that's, I think, I started doing comedy sketches when I was very young. I did like little comedy sketches on a little camera, and that feels like it's who I am. But this pathway of content is, you know, it's you're conflating what an audience wants with what you are trying to you know, you want to put in the world. And that's I don't know. It took me a long time to actually figure that out, because I think I have always been a very kind of online person. I mean, I didn't watch a whole lot of YouTube growing up. It wasn't until kind of maybe 2016 that I really started watching it. But still, it was like you love the validation, and eventually, you know, you kind of want to, I don't know, it just affects how you think, and that I think is shitty. And it takes a while. Some people understand it and don't care. Some people figure it out and hate it. Some people figure it out and stop. Like it sounds like you figured it out pretty quickly. For me, I figured it out, kept doing it, and hated it, and kept doing it even though I hate it, because it's just like, I don't know, you
got a financial incentive. Like,
yeah.
You need to eat at some point
you
too,
build,
right?
Yeah, you build a life around that, and then eventually you have to like reset and be like, what am I actually doing? So I'm still in that stage. Whenever I talk to people right now, it's kind of like, it's very muddled, because I'm like, yeah, I actually fucking hate my job, but it's still, I don't know.
But it's still better than other options, like
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. What is an example of something you've looked at? Like I'm trying to envision like what you're trying to make or where you're trying to get to. What are things that you look at and you're like, fuck, I idolize this type of creator or this type of content that's made on YouTube. I mean, you can do YouTube if you want, or you can do movies, but like YouTube is, I don't know.
Mr. Beast. What else? No, I'm trying to think. Like, there's this guy Gokanaru. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I've been watching a lot of his stuff lately, and it's still along the vein. Like he did a video about Sneeko. You familiar with that guy?
Yep.
And
I watch Noah Samsen, so I'm familiar.
yeah,
with
I'm like, okay, that's my fucking claim to fame. But he did this really good, super original, super like abstract, but with a lot of foresight and planning, and it was like one example of artistry, like not content, but artistry being molded into the space that we operate, as in critiquing other creators, or like, you know, finding content and making fun of it. His video, he could have made 10 videos out of the same amount of time. He spent like a year on it, but he could have made 20 videos on the same thing, reacting to Sneeko and making fun of him in an entertaining way, which would take, you know, 3 days to make, and it would have made a lot more money. But instead, he took this road of like really putting time and effort into this thing that was like really, I don't know, just engaging and interesting. So, I mean, that's just one example of a video I saw recently that made me feel that way. But
what was it? It took him a year to make it. Like, what was unique about, or what was the hook for you? Like, what was unique? I didn't watch it, so like, what was it about that was different from something that you make? Because when you make it, I mean, I see it. I'm like, you take clips, you come them together. I mean, they're not. It's like, hey, let me show you this thing. Let me show you what's happening, and let me talk about like why I think it's a problem. And like, I don't know, like that seems like I guess I don't see what's wrong with it from it necessarily. But you're right, I don't see art there necessarily either.
Right? Yeah, I absolutely don't either. And in this example, like video essays are one thing where you're structuring out and writing it out, and there's artistic elements to it. Like maybe you include a sketch, and maybe your set is really interesting, and you do things visually. What made this different was it was very innovative in the sense that he created this entire video presentation to have it sent to this guy so that he could watch it on his stream. And in this video, he's talking to him directly, and it's really kind of scary and weird.
To Sneeko?
Yeah, to him directly. And it's like kind of like a horror film almost, but also at the same time, he opens a package that he got in the mail, and the guy sent him something, and it all combines into this narrative. And he knew he would watch it on stream. He was recording the reaction, and then the reaction to the reaction, and then he combined it all into this amazing thing that like had a video essay. It was, I mean, I wouldn't even call it a video essay, because video essay doesn't seem to capture it. It was just like a really good piece, but a lot of it was, you know, arguments about the types of trends that we see online, and how harmful ideas spread really easily, but it's all kind of a grift and connecting it to other examples. But stuff like that, where you're using a medium in a new way. I've never seen someone prepare something for someone to watch on stream so you could fuck with them while also making a great video out of it and showing how you knew exactly how he was going to react to it because you've watched enough, you spent a year studying someone.
You've demonstrated a excellence in knowledge and like a mastery in like how that person operates. It's so far that you can literally predict what's happening to the point where you're going to build a constructed thing from one moment all the way to the that.
He's like a master manipulator. Yeah,
that's
I mean,
insane.
Everyone should watch that. But that's the most recent thing I saw that made me go, oh, I need to level up. I'm more creative and fucking more interesting than this slop I'm doing, and this right here kind of that and a few other things political related stuff, because I've done some political coverage and a lot of that has changed my view on content. But that is just one example of a video that made me reflect, and then I reconnect with all the things I've always loved artistically, and I'm like, yeah, I think being if I look back on my legacy of what I've made, I want to take pride in it. And right now I have just shame all day, every night, and it's not good. It's not a good place to be. Yeah.
I think what you make. Let me take a step back. Let me explain why I think what you make is valuable, and I think what you make is valuable in the same way that the reason I moved to making shorts is that more often I think that if we are talking about, let's use a term called praxis, if we're talking about the things that we're doing to change the world or make change, I do think that as much as it can feel like you're just doing entertainment or whatever, I do think there is value. I do think you are creating, you have to meet people where they are at, and there are far more people that are there. There's just a lot of people that aren't going to watch. And I don't know how long he said his name was Ginkagen or
yeah, close. Gokanaru.
Gokanaru. Yeah. Goku. You were watching Goku, and Goku how long was the total video that?
Hour 20?
Yeah,
maybe?
So that's amazing, and that's amazing, right? I think, I guess, do you know who the leftist cooks are?
Yeah.
So I watched their content. I started watching their content when they were
they're great.
Very small. I don't know why. YouTube served me then at 10 or 9,000 subscribers or whatever. And I started watching their stuff, and it was just Neil talking about being in Ireland. And I remember really, the first time I heard poly and talking about that in a way where it was not just where it made sense as this is why this makes sense to me.
Yeah,
now.
Try talking about polyamory on a motorcycle Instagram. Good luck. Have fun. Have fun. People coming to your house to fucking kill you.
This is my poly pride flag right here.
Nice.
I am in a polyamorous relationship. Thank you very much.
Are
now.
you?
Yeah, that's
cool.
Right. 2 girlfriends.
Nice.
You'll meet them sometime if you
right
play your cards right. You could potentially be in on that too.
I'm not poly, but I respect the grind, and I would love to meet them. I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they're nice ladies.
Poly's just it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It's just more. It's
more.
Poly is the same thing. You just have to be better at relationships. That's the truth. You have to be communicating and all that fun stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, so I watched that, and I think I had the same moment that you described there, where I'm what you're making is valuable. Actually, now that I'm remembering, going back to the Trans Ally video, I included that there's a portion in there that I pulled from a Leftist Cooks video, which is Neil doing this, just having this monologue like they do, and at the end they look into the camera and they're like, I actually want to save the world. They're going. The monologue is basically, I get that you think that YouTube videos don't change the world or do anything, and this is all just sophistry and just wasting our time,
making money.
Making money.
Yeah.
I get that you're thinking, but actually, what I want to do is present suicides and genocides. I actually want to save the world. Can we admit that? And they look into the camera, and I remember thinking, when they looked at me, I was I felt that. I was oh my God, I'm feeling emotions right now. And that was actually what led me to say, I need to make that Trans Ally. That was actually part of why I got really pissed off and just wrote it all. And then I included it at the very end and used that as my, ending point. And I remember watching that the first time I watched it all the way through, and I looked at that, and I, stared at it, and I was holy fuck, I think I made something that I'm, really great, that is really great. And I remember, and I've been trying to that was a formative moment for me. Oh fuck, how do I do this every time?
Yeah.
This, it changed all the way I thought about making content.
How long after the stuff you were doing that you didn't like was this? Did this happen?
That was 5 years.
Oh,
it's been a lot. Yeah, and I look back at my work. I have taken a different path. I have unfortunately, for me, I have taken the perfectionist path, which I am now looking as that is the thing I am trying to actually break. I'm trying to get closer to you, where I am outputting more, where I am focusing where I'm still constructing a good thing that I'm proud of, but like I'm realizing my standards for what I am proud of is like too high. And I have all these great.
I'm lowering my standards, like you. Like no,
well,
literally.
It's this realization that like it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be this thing where like I don't need to like mull over every typo. I don't need to like fidget with the size of everything. You know, I don't need to add so many.
What is that? Where does that drive come from?
That drive comes from the desire to. I mean, I really do want. When I started making the motorcycle stuff, it was because I was having so many conversations in real life with people who were like, "Oh, you ride a motorcycle? Oh, I thought about doing that. That's cool. I want to ride one."
Yeah.
What I'm scared, and I was having the exact same one. So I was like, "Well, what if I just recorded this and then put it on the internet?"
Right.
And then I could like show people. And then doing that, I got connection with. I realized how many people were out there wanting to ride a motorcycle and how it was just like a fear thing. And then it became like it doesn't need to be scary. Let me make content that makes it feel not scary to people and encounters. And it was like conversational. Like that was what it felt like. It was like I'm having conversations with people in my comments or whatever. And it was like, but it was from the perspective, I spent about a decade in retail. And doing that, like I started selling Apple computers at one point. And when you do that, I got very used to taking people who were Windows people and were like, I would never buy a Mac. That thing's overpriced, piece of shit, garbage toy, nobody does work. And converting those people into like showing them iPhoto, showing them iMovie, showing them how it like explaining how
showing them the thing I showed you today.
Yeah,
with
showing them
these
the
cameras.
fucking camera connects to my goddamn Mac. Like shit, yeah, that integration. And like I got such a kick out of watching people go from the no to doing exactly what I said. And it was like, so I got a lot of practice selling and converting people, and I took that skill set and I was like, what if I did that for motorcycles?
Yeah.
And I never built anything I was unproud of. It was just, I'm unproud of the amount I output. I am unproud of how long it takes me. I feel disappointment. I have a Patreon. I feel disappointment with how many notes. I don't know how you like decide what you're gonna make and construct it, but like I have just notes. I have hundreds of notes of like different ideas that I want to turn into 1-minute videos, and I'm never gonna get to them because I'm too my standards are too high, you know. So
and yet, if you did those 100 videos, it would enact so much positive change just by the virtue of hitting people with repeated things and different angles on it. It doesn't have to be, even if it's not perfect, right? It's the same. Like that's interesting. I was just thinking about how I don't have a lot of work experience in traditional workplace settings, and a lot of people that come into making content that have been doing something and getting good at it in a context where things are being produced. You're making like you gotta hit a sales quota, or I'm not sure how it works, but in order to stay employed, you have to do something and be competent at it. I think that type of practice for anyone that's like thinking of making content, or for anyone that is doing it, it feels like there's a very like correlative aspect of like being good at something and then applying it because you know what you're doing. And then I mean, it's interesting because it sounds like you get to the point of the idea, but then actually like putting it out, there's
refining
a standard.
the idea to a point where I am like, this is what will convert people. This is what will take people. Like I'm thinking about, you know who Jixerbra is?
Yeah.
So he did this big thing in Colorado where he like sped through, and it was a whole fucking thing. So I wanted to make a video explaining why I actually don't think what he did is all that crazy or scary. And I have been struggling to do that because I write it and I have all these notes, and then like I'm unsatisfied. Like I'm looking at it from a sentence to sentence perspective of like, is this sentence drawing to the, like, are these doing things correctly? Is it logical? Does it make sense? But then I iterate it so much that by the time I iterate like a paragraph, the next one doesn't really connect, and I have to iterate that one, and it's just...
Oh man, you're describing my writing process as well. It sucks, man. But like you're saying with the video you made where you all kind of scribble it out, like has that sort of process come up since then?
So that's the new thing I'm going to try, is that I've decided I'm going to use bullet points, and I'm going to use those bullet points to just talk into the camera. And the thing I struggle with is staring at the camera.
There's
like
3 lenses, like which one?
I know. It looks like a fucking cyborg.
Fucking Apple, man.
And then like looking at the camera and speaking and like keeping my train of thought. I can only do it because you're here and we're having a conversation. When I'm doing it to a camera with nobody, the mind goes, like all the ideas I have as I'm walking my dog just like go away. But that's what I'm going to try, and I'm going to work on that because I want to output more, and I'm going to go back that's why I make so many shorts now, is that I find it very easy to construct 5 paragraphs that connect together, and I can turn into a very well-produced thing that sells one idea as like a stepping off point for conversation. So, but I came on this kind of randomly, like this is just like, I was just like trying it, and I was like, oh, this, like, wow, shorts is way easier, and I can still make a cool set and like say something punchy, and like I can be more direct. I don't feel like I have to sell it as hard, like, which is what I feel with so many of the ideas, like, and I don't know if you feel this way, but when you're like, I don't know who you think about when you make your videos, but when I think about it, is I think about the person who's like gonna disagree with it the most. And so much of it is like, how do I draw that person in? How do I not get them to click off so that they'll keep coming? Because truly what I want to be doing is transforming those people into something different.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually come from like a different sort of experience of it, because a lot of times, like my introduction to sort of politics and political ideas was through places like Twitter, where you start to like follow people and learn about like leftist politics or perspectives of like, you know, systemic oppression or things like that. And so for me, it was initially a space of like, when I'm making fun of misogynist guys on YouTube, I'm not doing it to specifically cultivate an audience of people that, you know, are harmed by misogyny necessarily. I'm just kind of doing a reflexive thing because I feel like, you know, this just feels weird, so I'm making fun of it. And that creates a certain sense of, you know, you're not going in it deliberately. Instead of going in it with the deliberate attempt to change the mind of someone who might fall under this, you're doing a more clowning on it as entertainment thing. And while it makes for, I think, like generally entertaining content, that thing you're talking about is a thing that has lacked and that I want to strive towards, that I've been wanting to strive towards more, because it's like, okay, this is good to have a space where people can like be cathartic about things that like harm them, or that you can just, I don't know, like, you know, my audience is like 50-50, 60-40 men, so it's not like it's fully, it's not, it's more balanced than I think probably many male creators, but at the same time, it's not like it's, you know, 90% women that are all just like, fuck guys, whatever. In the sense that like, I get comments from people that are like, yeah, like this helped me sort of see an example of someone by clowning on them that like this is a weird thing, and then I started following a pathway into other content that's more specific about the politics. But at the same time, what I'm trying to move towards is what you're talking about, which is because I think it's way more direct. Like if you're in your mind saying this video is going to be shown to someone that does not like trans people, and you have to approach it. You have to approach it first of all with empathy for their perspective, but also that empathy contains a certain amount of like, you have to speak their language. You can't, as shitty as it is, you can't put a trigger warning on a video that's just talking to a transphobe because they'll be triggered by it. I mean, that's one thing I want to talk to you about, because like depending on the content, you like, there's a certain responsibility to do things like that, but also like, at what point does that overstep into turning off the people that most need to have their minds changed? I know you have the flag, so that's already, you're already at a baseline of like, this is a safe space, and that turns people off. And if that's enough to turn people off, I'm assuming you don't really necessarily want them in your audience, but there's a tier above that of person that might see it and be uncomfortable, but then listen in, you know. So what is that line?
I've got a whole strategy now. I've got a whole fucking strategy there. But let me just stop. I want to go back. I want to tell you the thing that you have done, and I think that maybe you don't recognize it in yourself, but I recognize it, which is that I think what you're doing that might just feel like clowning on people or the low-hanging fruit, what I saw in it and why I connected with it, I was like, oh, here's someone else doing positive masculinity in a way that I can see, and it's like, it's obvious to me, and I can like take notes on, and I can be like, oh, what is he doing that helps? And like, you were one of the first people, the first men I saw that was just like, I'm gonna talk about the struggles I have and the things that are confusing to me, and not speak in a way where I'm like definitively telling you. I'm gonna like just describe my experience. And so like, I think that modeling that for people is incredibly positive and important. So as much as you might not feel you are an expert on that, I think that is something that you either know inherently through your upbringing or whatever, but I think that that's a big part of what drew me to your content, even especially as you've gone into like creating smaller channels and stuff of like your other smaller interests, like, and just getting even more honest and like just real and just raw. But yeah, so the way I think about it is, you're right. You gotta choose your floor.
Yeah.
What is your floor? And my floor is, if you see this and you are just immediately going to be like you're gonna click off the video, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because the alternative, the cost to me pulling this down is that people who want specifically to bring in will literally click off, right? So that's the decision point. The next one is, okay, they're gonna see it, and then there's a lot of people that are gonna just, like on the trans ally video, it is hilarious because there are so many comments it's so obvious, it just makes it very clear they never watched the video because the video is so empathetic. It is not what people expect it to be, looking at the thumbnail, and so they make a comment that is like, you are delusional, you are this, and it's like, hey man, just watch the video. Like that's my second strategy is, hey, let me just kick you in the nuts for a second and like let me get you out of this like Twitter world where you feel like somebody's gonna come just argue with you because people are just so used to not listening. It's not about listening, it's about yell.
Yeah, they're
yell.
primed to take things in a very disingenuous way.
Reactive, very reactive. And so that's my next strategy. And with some of them, they'll say, okay, I watched it. And then they'll write another comment that's got a whole bunch of shit on it.
Yeah.
But that's the key, right?
Get your foot in the door.
My goal is to stop them, make them critically think for just a moment, and then, hopefully like let that be the beginning of the point, because I really do look at those people as like, I feel bad for them. I feel empathy for them because I feel like their brains have been fucking cooked by whatever media they follow. And the media they follow is probably because of the way they were raised and like
the systems we're under, right?
Exactly. Like the life they lived. Not because through motorcycles I've met so many people who I've enjoyed and sports. Like I've met so many men that I've loved and like built great connections with. But they also like have done really transphobic things or homophobic things, or like I was teased as like bullied for like being gay or whatever as a kid because like I just didn't match like really like the really rigid masculine pieces and like so I got a lot of that like experience of like not fitting in and like I don't know, I think that helped me build empathy for other people that were different and like were those things. And but yeah, so I feel very much like I can live in both worlds and exist in both worlds, and because of my sales background, it's very easy for me to not like react to people saying things that are like surprising or negative to me. I can just be like, oh, interesting, tell me more about that, right? Let me get to the heart of, let me understand you, because the more that I understand you, the more I can target the next thing I'm gonna say to like get right to the core.
Very valuable skill.
Well, it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice.
Years. You worked there for 10 years?
I did retail for 10 years, and then I've got another job now. I work in cybersecurity, and like the truth is that sales is a job. Like as much as I was unproud of what I did. Like in the same way that you're like, wow, look what I'm doing, and I'm not proud of it, or I'm not happy with like what my life is going to end. If I died today, I would be like unsatisfied with that. I sat in retail and I said the same thing to myself. I was like, I'm fucking slinging computers. I'm selling computers and service plans, and I really don't feel happy about this. Mm-hmm. But today I'm like, holy fuck, that built a massive skill set that I use every single fucking day to communicate with people, to like, to get people on my side, to do things my way or whatever. And the other piece is then using my identity, the way that, I think that's something that you do, is using my identity to draw people in, of like the tattooed biker guy that looks normal-ish or whatever, looks attractive-ish or whatever.
Normative.
Yeah, and like leveraging those attributes to then, like, I feel like I'm just sitting at a very specific point, and it's like to not take advantage of that and try is not right, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to reconnect with that, almost like presenting the normativity about who I am, like the, competitive sports background, or, I ride motorcycles, I do whatever, but because over time you sort of develop a view of yourself in whatever space you're operating that makes you want to be, I don't know, like I think for me, like the sort of almost shame, or like as you grow aware of how the systems that you have perpetuated affect people, you want to distance yourself from that, as opposed to, maintaining your self-perception as being a part of it and then working outwards from there. And I think, like what you're talking about, it's much more effective to, like, if I really wanted to get the fresh and fit guys like to listen, I would, I don't know, start the video showing a video of me lifting, and then start, do the podcast with, like, I don't know, with my shirt off, whatever the fuck that like they would value as masculinity. And I mean, it's not a desire to want to do anything like that. It's more like, I think I've forgotten how that role that masculinity has played in my life up until I started like getting into politics. And I mean, it's just being truthful about who you are that I think, regardless of where you're coming from, like if you're being truthful about your experience and that maps onto, you know, a very broad population, and if you're able to articulate the things that include other experiences, then that's like a very valuable thing, you know, and that makes it so that the spaces that are developing online that are, you know, even more specific about certain issues have more sort of support and it's more readily available that people will be, you know, I mean, Instagram Reels is fucked. Like the comments in there are a mess. But YouTube, depending on where you're at on YouTube, you can find very supportive communities and a lot of shit. You know, there's very regressive places, but of course, but like, you know, the space is developing and it really helps to have people, you know, like doing what you're doing for sure. So
it is a struggle though, and like I feel what you're saying about like the trigger. We're going back to the trigger warnings, right? It is so hard to find the right line. When I made when I wrote that the trans ally video is I actually said the F slur twice because it was.
I was gonna say that'll get you some cred, even though you blur it out because obviously, but really, that's me.
Yeah.
He said, wow, maybe I should listen, which is crazy, but it's probably literally true.
But what's important to understand about that, and I've only talked about it a handful of times, that the initial version of that was uncensored. And that was a choice I was going to make. And
that's intense.
The logic I had between that was that I wanted people to feel it. I think that there's, in the same way, like, we can say the N-word, right? We can say, oh, the N-word, right? And the N-word and the N-word, and it's like, but it loses it, right? When you watch someone in real life, if you see a video, like when you watch people at protests or whatever, right? And you see people say, and like the vitriol of like the real world, it's a different thing, you know? And I wanted to make a creative decision to...
Creative...
I mean, it was like to feel that.
Yeah.
But I reached out to Neil of the Western Coast and I said, hey, what do you think about this decision? And they're like, it's great. Here's some feedback.
That's great.
And they were like, I would not do this. And I was like, thank you. And I thought a lot about that, and I incorporated that feedback, right? So it was me taking, hey, this is this great creative idea I have, but like, let me run it past the other people in my life to understand what is going to happen. Not because it's simply to know what the result will be so that I can account for it in my decisions and decide, is this the right thing or is this not the right thing? And like, when you're talking about trigger warnings and stuff, like all of this, it is hard because it takes thought. And like sometimes I had trigger warnings, like there are lots of things you get a trigger warnings for everything. That's the reality. But I don't in a lot of things because I think to a certain level there's like, when you go on the internet, like there's kind of just this it's like walking outside. Like there's just kind of a general expectation of if you're outside in a public space, somebody might record you. Like this is the world we live in. You kind of just got to get used to that. And I think if you're on the internet, like I swear all the time. I have people that complain about swearing or whatever in my videos. And I'm like, if you're on the internet, I kind of just think you need to expect swears. Sorry, like, and some people won't watch it for that reason or whatever. But again, that's like you have to decide your floor, but again, also consider the people that you care most about and building a very inclusive. Like realizing my niche was like inclusive motorcycle stuff, and realizing that didn't exist at all. Like that was where it was like, okay, I just need to lean into that piece and do what that audience expects, make them feel safe, continue to check in with them and make sure that I am not considering them, but also running it through my own filters of like, they don't have the empathy.
You know your space. You know what's going on.
I know the people like
your
me.
side,
I know the people I went in high school and know how they think too. And like it requires both. You know, you can't just tell those people to fuck off. Like, I mean, you can, but they won't vote your way. Ever. Like, they may not vote at all, but, like, they won't vote your way. So...
I mean, what you described about reaching out to someone in the community that would affect is leaps and bounds ahead of what most people are willing to do, especially, like white cis allies. You're cis hetero?
I am a straight man.
Straight?
I don't own that very well. Just to stop.
Own it?
I don't give a fuck about gender. I don't think gender. I really am like a gender abolitionist at my core. I don't think it's healthy for society. Like at the end of the day, I look at the society we built and I'm like, kind of feels like something we did just to like cut people off and like divide. So like at its core, I'm a gender abolitionist, but I am a straight man. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So like what you're talking about actually participating and being in community with those who aren't, with how your words would affect them. I think is the only way that that's going to happen. And it's very like inspiring to hear, because that is something that you will only learn by engaging with and listening to those communities, and really like digging in and being like, this, like digging in as in standing your ground about what you want to do, at the same time trying to, be in dialogue, basically. I think that's very admirable. And I think, a lot of people online, like, I don't know, we're in Washington, it's a very white state, like BLM signs and stuff. A lot of these signifiers that people put up to show their anti-racism, if these sorts of things aren't being done by being around or talking to or in community with black people, online or in person, again, in person is difficult because Washington's a very white state, depending on where you're at, then what are you doing? Who are you doing it for, other than to signify to other white people similar attitudes, and how is that going to affect actual change? And I don't know, that's, it's just admirable, because it's so much easier to resort back to just performing as opposed to actually affecting change. So I think that's really cool.
I am not a successful business person on YouTube at all. I make a little bit of money on the ads.
Me neither. Genuinely.
Really? Okay.
So bad with business.
I make almost nothing on ads. I think on YouTube I've made a total of $7,000 or $8,000 in the entire time I've made YouTube videos, and I think I've made like maybe like $2,000 or $3,000 from Patreon. I have like an $89 Patreon, right? So like I have a full-time job, and I have no possible, like I look at that, and like my job is pretty lucrative. Like I make over 6 figures. Like I work for a good company. Like I have a skill set that I can take to other places, and like I'm just like, it's terrifying to me to like walk away from that and to think about, because I could totally like shrink my life down, because that is the strategy, is like kind of what you're doing, right? Shrinking your life down, reducing expenses. Like that's the thing I see a lot of creators do. Like so many of the creators, I see them, they're basically like teachers. There's people who have these jobs that weren't very lucrative, but they built skill sets there, you know, and then
consistent income to pay for things as much as you can, depending on where you're at, right?
Yeah. So like, how do you, like, what things have been successful for you for building a YouTube business, and what are things that you like are like exploring as you're trying to reset and do content your way?
Yeah, right now resetting is just downsizing, and because I moved to LA from Orange County. It was really cheap rent in Orange County because I had 3 roommates. I moved out on my own, already more expensive. I got a place with a kind of smaller studio space because I wanted to start utilizing that, and I didn't really, but that was obviously a larger expense. And so in order to keep up with that, you have to change how you schedule out what you're creating, and that just really sucks. And so, main thing right now is downsizing, just so I can like reconnect with things. But in that vein, to keep up with it, I reached out to other creators to start seeing what management I could work with, because they'll bring sponsorships, and that's definitely way more consistent than AdSense, because things get demonetized, and like you really have to post a lot to pull in money on AdSense and longer videos and things like that. You have to very like loyal audience, and things like that are.
You have a Patreon though, right? Like, is that
do.
Is that good for you? Does it work? Or
I think it makes $500-$600 a month, which is good, obviously.
Yeah,
like that helps a lot with rent and things.
Nothing close to a full-time job though. And
right. A lot of people really, I don't really plug it that well. That's another business thing where it's like for some reason, if I just started every video by saying that, I probably would be making a significant amount more, but I just don't. Because why? Because I forget. Like that's
Do you forget? Is that?
I forget, or I just don't really think about it, or I don't want like.
I feel guilty. I feel
guilty
about
too.
that.
But that's, people understand. Like that's a part of the process.
Yeah.
And aside from feeling guilty, I feel like like sponsorships fuck up the content, but starting with the thing, it's kind of I don't know. It's probably not a big deal. I probably should just do it.
Finding a way to naturally plug it is always the better way. But it doesn't necessarily. You have to do it, like you said, you have to do it a lot consistently.
Yeah.
And prioritize it.
It wouldn't be hard either. I could just put together a 5-second asset that I could put at the start of every video, and that's a very simple business decision that works itself. Like I don't work with editors or anything. I like editing my own videos, but that's another thing where if I invested into that, it can be expensive, but depending on the project, it's super worth it for your time. A lot of like successful long-running creators have scaled their businesses in that regard. Like streamers specifically, I think it's a lot easier because they'll stream all day. Yeah. They have editors that watch. They'll cut up the segment, upload it to YouTube. They'll make $5,000 every video. It's like that. That's like a crazy setup. That's really smart for long-term creation, but I'm still in that headspace of like I'll make a video when I feel like it. I'm just kind of hanging out. Like I'm trying to like, I'll make a video if I need to pay rent, like if funds are running low, but I don't, like it's a very unprofessional setting. And I think that's part of what we're talking about with like long-term work experience. If you're working for a company, you have to produce, you have to be on time, you have to make your meetings, you have to, if you have a deadline for a video, you meet the deadline. I push deadlines back because there's a lack of structure there. And this is stuff I'm trying to work on, obviously. And I think I've gotten better over time. But, Patreon is definitely the best way to have a consistent income. But because I didn't come up off of Patreon, like a lot of these older, bigger essay people, like started out from the bottom, grew slowly and steadily, and then used their Patreon to like build up something so that they could have, freedom to create. And that's obviously ideal. The other route is to like scale up and have editors and do all these things. But I mean, these are things that I'm 26 and because I have a lack of experience in the world, these are things that I'm having to learn. But I think, ADHD as well, like that's something that actually keeping up with it. I was just diagnosed in December, so it's still all new. And it coming to terms with like, oh, the way I've been running this could have been way more efficient. And that's just something you learn and you can use in the future. And hopefully that's what happens. But again, like revenue streams and learning about business and structuring and business plans and stuff, it's all, I've always felt like I'm bad, like more on the artist side, and maybe having someone manage it would be better. But also, I'm an adult. I should it's my job. I should figure out how to like make it work. And if I'm, actually in touch with like my mental health and everything, then it's a lot easier. So
if I didn't spend like a decade fucking having other people jam numbers and shit into my face and like you're totally, I literally can't. That's why I failed at school, is because I didn't understand how to like crack down and like structure things to like do things productively. And you're right, it wasn't until a job forced me to do it out of literal necessity to survive that I like figured it the fuck out, struggling over time, over years.
Right.
The other thing you said you wanted to build in one of your videos was more community. Like, what is that? So I have a Discord community, and that is a thing. I plug that more than my fucking Patreon half the time.
Yeah.
Because it is important to me. It's like 2,000 people, and the reason it's important to me is as I did more content that was focused on like being inclusive and specifically around marginalized and queer communities, it was this realization of how many of those people in their real lives are not treated well. They don't have people that their parents don't respect their identities. They don't have good friendships that they can even talk and be honest with people about. Like, they are online because online is where they can find the people that don't treat them like shit, and treat them the way that they project. And so like, and it's become a thing where it's almost, I described it to somebody as like my own personal like suicide awareness hotline. Like it's where it's like I can literally, if anytime I want, I can walk in there and I can find someone who is struggling with a real life situation where as a older person I have been through it and I've done it, and I can provide some sort of guidance in a way that is like positive and good. And it's like a give back program for me. I see that, and like, but it was a thing that came out of very accidental of just like, I need to build a Discord. No, we ain't doing that.
Cut.
I'm just gonna cut it like right in between me talking here and staring at it, so it's just totally like very disjointed. It'll go from that, and then it'll be me cutting to like this part. But yeah, so doing that Discord, so it's something I like and enjoy, and I feel good about, even though it is so draining to my energy and time sometimes. But like I now have tried to like export that to other people, and I have people that volunteer to help me like look into things and just kind of keep people not yelling at each other and stuff, know. But like that's the community part that I'm building, that I'm like focused on, in addition to the chuds that are in my just YouTube channel that I'm trying to like get to just think differently and maybe like change their minds. For you, what are you trying to build community as far as the air stuff? Yeah,
my experience with that has been relatively new in terms of like a Discord. I had a Discord a while ago. It's hard to keep up with. For me, it has been, because like Discord's been overwhelming, and actually running it without help is a lot. And as opposed to asking for help from people, you prefer to just be like, oh, I can do this, and then you can't. But lately, I think in the last like 3 months or so, I have a second channel where I do kind of more self-help focused, like not necessarily self-help, but like talking about mental health, talking about struggle, talking about,
it's a vlog. I think you call it a vlog.
It's vloggy,
but it is really like, it's focused on, it's not just like, look at these cool things I'm doing, like, let me show you my cool life where I...
It's the opposite. I'm like, I'm fucked up. you guys should watch this if you're fucked up, so we can be fucked up together and sad. Yeah, I mean, it's that, but what that creates is a space where like people are open to talking about things like that, and also supportive, because we're all kind of in a similar, we have, you know, through lines of situations. Like some of these videos I'll like clean the bathroom, or I'll clean my room.
Yeah.
And if you're depressed and it's been 3 weeks since you've cleaned your room, just seeing that happen can be helpful. And then in this Discord, we have like, you know, separate channels for things like, like post your before and after of what you've cleaned. And people are like, that's really satisfying. We're super proud of you. And these are like, I don't know, it's a lot of times when you talk about politics online, you're thinking broad strokes, like how can we change these systems? But what I've found to be very empowering is seeing actual sort of direct change enacted from person to person via a community. And I think that's like, I mean, that's what's pushed me into like, you know, having people that are consistently, you know, posting or helping people out become moderators, and they're happy to do it. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I just ask people before? That's really awesome. And then from there, working outwards and not like blowing up the spot, like posting about it a bunch on my main channel, more so like trying to build it up organically and trying to make just like cultivate the types of people. I mean, obviously, you want it to grow. But I think there's a certain context online where it's more. It feels more like there's more of a retention with people. Like people will stick around and really help each other if you're kind of building it organically, I guess, which it is still through content. But I think stuff like that is like I've always had a very strong aversion to self-help type content, because it's grifty, and a lot of times, you know, people are lying or they're showing off like what they've done. And vulnerability online, I think, is, you know, that's another, it's a piece of branding. Like it's shitty to say that, but I'll be thinking about if I'm making a video and I'm like, so far it hasn't affected how I talk about things, but I'm like, I forgot that, like, you know, if I make a video framing it around some problem I'm having, that's a potential draw to the video. And if I want the videos to succeed, I could lean into that. But also, you know, if it's true, if it's how I'm feeling, then why not just talk about it in whatever way you can? So yeah, community, like online communities are super important, but I'm also wanting to branch outward into like being at home right now. I've been trying to like spend a lot more time with family and seeing friends, and like this podcast, like a lot of times in the past, I'd set something like this up, and I know like I've like had to schedule it back a couple times, but that scheduling has been more so due to actual shit going on rather than in the past.
Because you're filling your time with other not just sitting around doing nothing.
Right, and being scared at home that I have to go talk to someone. Like now it feels a lot better, because each time you do that, each time you like flex that social muscle, it gets easier to do. And as like a very antisocial person generally, that it takes a lot, but once you get it going, you can see how, like, I don't know, your life gets better and the people's lives around you get better, and it's just better for everybody. So community, that's the goal from now on, community arc, basically.
Yeah,
people.
I call it your self-help arc, or your self-improvement arc. But yes, community arc is good. I had a similar thing happen. So I'm in the process of getting a divorce, but I separated from my wife like a year ago, and I also had a very negative thought of like what self-help was. You know, eat, pray, love. You know, 7 habits. Fucking, I'm thinking like Jordan.
4 a.m. cold showers.
Yeah, I mean, just very much, like nothing really connected with me. And I watched a lot of sales stuff too, and like Zig Ziglar and these. Like it is honestly very similar in some ways, and so that was why I had some of an aversion to it.
Yeah.
But as I started to read books on, like, for example, relationships, like polyamory, and I started like I just read more books, and I was like, oh wow, and I started having new like philosophy books too, of like actual, like I'm reading one right now called The Courage to be Disliked, and it is very much like, it's like a dialogue between two people, like an older man and a young, like almost like Socrates and Aristotle type situation, and like hearing people go through that and then realizing, oh fuck, this isn't bullshit, this is just, it's actually like really important, because if you don't have the basics set up, like I think that like you, so my version is like queer, marginalized people. That's I feel like that's my niche. With your vlogging channel, what I see is like, I feel like, and I think you said you have bipolar, or is it, or yeah. So like I think that the struggles that you have, and again, as I have other people around me that I'm trying to help through similar struggles, I'm realizing like I think those struggles are actually really common. Of like, how do I get motivated to do the basic things in my life that like feel so easy for the other people around me? Why am I struggling with this? And like how much shame can come from that? But the reality is that it comes from these from autism and these other these conditions that we have that are just, they're a reality, right? And they're not, there's so much stigma around them, and they make you, people make you feel bad because there's so little empathy for it. But the truth is that like, it's you just need a little help. Like, you need a little motivation. You need someone to show you a better way to do things, and like, you need
understanding, because understanding will build empathy. Understanding that someone has a condition or that their brain genuinely works in a different way.
Yeah.
For them it makes them be more empathetic, and for you it's more cathartic to know that you're not a fucked up person. Like, that's just how you are.
You're not unique. You're not uniquely fucked up. Nobody else.
Everyone's fucked up, but you're not specifically fucked up in a way that's irreparable.
Yeah, and my ex had a lot of depression, and so I saw the days where like, she was like, I'm going to do a thing. And then the next day it was like in bed all day because just like couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Nothing could get her past that point, right? Yeah. And like, I tried everything. I tried the hard, whatever. But it's just like, it's this reality like, oh, like this is not a thing. Like, it's not as simple as like what football or whatever, just like suck it up or whatever. Like, that doesn't work physically. Like, there are chemical imbalances that prevent this from happening. And like, yeah, so that's what I see you doing. And I see that as like, more positivity around, hey, it's okay to like just do the dishes in your day. Like, that's better than not. It's better than doing literally nothing, and like seeing those positive growth, appreciating doing small things and like making little improvements, because the truth is that like, as I'm explaining to other people who look at me now as someone who's, got shit, owns a house, and like, wow, you're so successful, and you have that. I'm like, when I was 19, 20, like, I didn't have any of that shit figured out. I struggled. Like, I lived in a shitty apartment. I had my room was fucking a total mess.
Yeah.
And it was just this realization, like, no, this is just kind of an aspect of being younger and not really understanding how you work and not really understanding how to, like, think about life as like well, if I don't do this today, it's got to get done tomorrow, or am I just never going to do this? Anyway, but yeah.
It is much more attractive to lean into being successful. Showing success, there's an envy to it. There's like an American individualistic culture. It's the algorithmically you're drawn to people that have things and know what they're doing because you want to watch it to try and figure it out, because it could be emulated, because it could be one way to explain the problems in your life as not you, as maybe blaming it on yourself and you being defective and being able to fix it rather than a lot of circumstances in your situation. But yeah, I mean, talking about the fact, whenever I hear people talk about like, yeah, even though I found success doing this one thing, there's been so much other shit in my life that has not gone wrong, and that's how everyone's lives kind of are, and being honest about that is really powerful, I think. So
one of the realizations I made too is like, as I'm resetting my life, and you said you play League or like, right? So I played Dota. That's what I played. I played Dota for like a decade. Haven't played it in like a year or so though. But like I spent, there would be days where I did the like chaining the matchmaking together, getting all the homies on. I would play with my ex. Like we would play like in the same room and like, but I realized in playing it, like not only was like, it was like not making it was not making my relationships positive. Like we would get mad at each other. Like I would, at the end of the game, I would rarely feel rejuvenated, because it's mental. These games are hard. They're not like easy. Like they can feel very repetitive because you're doing the same thing, you're picking the same champion or whatever, playing the same, but like they're not easy games to play. I could like put on a
So I tell my mom when I was running it down. It's actually quite hard, and like I could make money if I went. No, 100%. It is. It's mentally taxing.
Yeah, but like I don't know. Like that was like a realization that like, man, some of the things I'm doing that I feel like are for my rest or whatever are not actually super restful. And some of it was like reevaluating how I was spending that time too. And it sounds like you're kind of doing that too, where you're not off of it. Maybe you're playing it less, but you're like watching somebody do it while you do a thing as opposed to playing it actively, right? You said you're like watching it while you work out or while you.
Yeah, I like watching it. I think because for a lot of my life, I forget there's a website called Wasted on LOL that shows you the amount of hours you played, and it was thousands for me. Thousands and thousands of hours, which is kind of grim, not in the sense that like, oh, I could have been grinding and starting 13 small businesses. It's more like I know that time wasn't spent having a good time with friends and bonding over stuff that's happening in the game. It was me alone in my room playing during the day, all day, and that's not healthy. So your relationship with the things you enjoy, for me, that has changed over time to where right now I only play when I schedule a game with friends that I haven't seen in a while, or with friends that I, like keeping up with. And that's hard to do if you're addicted to League, because gaming addiction is like, it's the, most cringe of the addictions, because it's just like, just log off, You're not physically dependent on it, but it's still something that happens.
I think you do though with dopamine. With like you do get, I think, a physical dependence to an extent. Yeah.
100%, yeah. So there's like a psychological thing to it, but at the same time, like switching the focus to be like, okay, in my life, I have people. If you have people in your life, or even if you don't, if you have friends that you just know from the game, reframing it around those relationships and camaraderie. And even when you lose, like you're saying, like you get frustrated after losses, you want to blame people. Usually that's a sign for me that I've been playing too long. But even if that happens right away, if you win the next game, it's never enough to make up for that, I feel like. Even if it's a sick, like late game, like comeback or whatever, and that at a certain point recognizing that, that there's like an unhealthy situation going on here, how can I rectify this, even if it's not quitting outright, because it's hard. Like, if anyone had told me to quit outright while I was playing 12-hour days, I wouldn't even hear it, because it's just like in your brain. But yeah, I mean, that's like activities with people is something, and it's not like I don't play. I haven't played alone in a while, but the games are obviously fun for a reason. You start playing them for a reason, so it is fun to just log on. But like, just trying to maintain healthy relationships with the things that you do. Basically,
you're going outside more. I think you said that too, and that's a thing that since COVID, because so my job is it went fully remote in COVID, which means I sat on my computer for fucking 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, in the same room in my house, and it was like, I mean, again, as a creator, I'm sure you like you can feel that, right? And it's like, and that's when I started, like, I'm gonna walk my dog, and I'm going to listen to a podcast, and I'm not gonna pick my phone. I'm not gonna take it out of my pocket. I'm just gonna like look around,
take in the air, and
and enjoy my dog, and like, and I'm not great at it all the time. Sometimes I use that time to write, or like sometimes I'm processing like emotions, or I'm processing through conversations, and I will basically like write notes down for that during that time. But like, that was like going outside and being more outside intentionally, and like going and trying to do active things with other people was definitely something for me that came out of COVID, that I was like, oh fuck, this was the right play. Like, I reconnected with a buddy of mine that I hadn't seen in like a decade from Alaska, who literally lived in Seattle, and we just literally never talked.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Never talked. Like, how? Yeah, like the level of like, fuck, man, what am I doing?
Right.
But yeah, it sounds like you kind of have started to do that too, and are finding that to be positive. And
yeah, I mean, what you're talking about living near someone that you know. I mean, like when I was living in LA, I lived around all sorts of people, like creators and things like that I knew from the internet, but I never kicked it. And I think it's a filtration bias of all of us being creators and being online in our houses and do on the computer that makes it so that that's a reciprocal thing. Like no one's really hitting each other up. I had some people I'd see semi-consistently, but it's like now coming back here and like reevaluating that and being like, just making the effort means they'll make the effort, and then you'll just keep doing that and develop closer relationships. And that's like, and it can be a scary thing. Like there's a feeling like, I haven't seen this person in so long, they're going to think I'm a bad person for not hitting them up the whole time, even though they're also thinking that too. And when you go and have fun with them, that feeling usually gets immediately erased, or at least for the time being. And that's like it's just like being aware of stuff like that, but also understanding that, depending on the people, depending on your relationship with them and what they do, like there's all sorts of circumstances that can make it harder. But yeah, I mean, that's super valuable, I think.
Thank you for coming. This has been super fun. I appreciate your time. I would love to do more with you. I'd love to fucking go riding with you. We should definitely do that soon. I am gonna take you to the track next time we go to the track.
Fuck yeah.
I think your stepdad's the bike you're riding now is like a Kawasaki Versus or something.
It's some type of sport
ADV.
touring, like
Yeah, it looks pretty.
Do they let those on the track?
Yeah. Oh, bro,
cool.
they let cheetah like baggers. I'll show you this picture of these like cheetah baggers. It's like a bagger with fucking giant cheetah straps on it and shit. Have you watched any like the Harley races? Do you watch any like the bagger races or anything on Moto America?
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, it's all about bringing wacky shit to the track nowadays.
Nice.
That's very in vogue.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and then we'll hang out again.
100%. This was awesome. Thanks for hitting me up.
What do we do? Do we do the white
explosive? I think we.
So I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you my secret handshake. So
yeah. Yeah.
And then slide it.
Yeah.
And punch, twist to lock it in.
Yeah. And that's like the squid, right?
Yeah. Okay,
cool.
ready? We're gonna try it one more time.
I'm gonna fuck it up.
One, two. Do it again. One, two. Slide. Punch. Lock it.
I like it. That's very safe. I feel safe.
There you go. Awesome. Next time. Next time.
Sick, man.
Oh.